The smart child. And why is she the smart child?
Because she is white.
Okay. Show me the dumb child. And why is she the dumb child?
Because she plays.
Well, show me the ugly child. And why is she the ugly child?
Because she plays.
Show me the good-looking child. And why is she the good-looking child?
Because she likes skating.
This 5-year-old girl gave some provocative answers during her test. I asked her about them later.
How about you? Why do you want that skin color?
Because it looks lighter than this kind, because this looks a lot like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't like the way brown looks, because the way brown looks really nasty for some reason, but I don't know what reason. That's all.
So you think it looks nasty?
Well, not really, but sometimes.
Sometimes. And Brielle, they asked what color adults don't like. Do you remember what you said? Which one? That's right, that's what you said. Why do you think adults don't like that color?
Dark.
Dark. And adults, you think adults don't like dark?
Well, maybe some adults do, but maybe some of them don't.
The questions that got overwhelmingly white-biased answers?
Show me the one you think most children would think looks bad on a boy.
More than 70% of the older black children chose the darkest skin tones.
Show me the child who has a skin color most children don't like.
More than 61% of the younger black children chose the 2 darkest shades.
Show me the ugly child.
More than 57% of the younger black kids chose the 2 darkest shades. Dr. Spencer says the research shows the bias toward white is still very much part of our culture.
All kids are exposed to these stereotypes, but what's really significant here is that white children are learning or maintaining those stereotypes much more strongly than the African American children.
I want to talk about someone else. If you could speak on this, and I know you can, talk a little bit about your thoughts, if you would share it with us, about Shirley Chisholm.
I respected Shirley Chisholm. I think her running for president of the United States was definitely an honorable thing because I think she did it from a grassroots mindset. I don't think it was done from an Obama mindset. No, obviously I was a child at the time that she ran, for president of the United States. But in my research of her and the things that I have come to learn and know about her, although I didn't agree with everything she necessarily stood for, I definitely think that her move for that office was really being done for the grassroots people. I think she was really fighting for the poor, the downtrodden, in the working class. So for Shirley Chisholm, she's a sister who gets nothing but kudos, from me.
Yeah, beautiful. I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts, especially since we're talking about the Civil Rights Bill and just the role, because she's a name that you don't hear often that is mentioned. She's not mentioned, as we talked about many people, Martin Delaney, and it's probably hundreds, or if not thousands, of brothers and sisters, but we don't hear their name often. I kind of like her can't be
bought. And here's another issue.
Yeah.
There's another issue, Miss Blue, not to cut you off. You mentioned Shirley Chisholm, and you mentioned Martin Delaney.
Yes.
One of the issues that the black community is going to have to deal with that we haven't dealt with is the issue of light skin supremacy. One of the reasons you haven't heard about Martin Delaney is because he was a blue, black, purple black man. And one of the reasons you don't hear a lot about Shirley Chisholm is because she was a blue, black, purple black woman. One of the reasons Marcus Garvey was hid for so long is because he was a blue, black, purple man. You'll find that a lot of our darker-hued brothers and sisters, despite their contributions, history has often overlooked it. Not just white history, but also black history. There's a tendency to find more favor with leaders and activists who have been able to pass the brown paper bag test. It is something that we do. Even in the conscious community, you have that same issue. I've had several sisters make comments to me about many of our scholars, young and old, who have a tendency towards dating only yellow or light-skinned women. Not to say that a light-skinned woman shouldn't be dated. She's still an African. So the issue isn't being with a light-skinned woman, okay? The issue is only dating light-skinned women to the exclusion of darker-hued sisters. And, I mean, I've had a lot of sisters comment to me about the light-skin supremacy issue within the conscious community and how most of our scholars are dating or married to women who are light-skinned, and very few of them are married to dark-skinned women. In fact, some of them are married to women who are so light, it's hard to even tell they're African women, so that's something that has been ignored, totally swept under the rug, and one thing about me, and I'm sure you notice about me, I'm all about exposing the hypocrisy, be it in me, anybody else, or the movement, and that light skin issue is an issue that the black community has not come to terms with. And we're not just talking about light-skinned people. I want to clarify for your listeners, for those who don't understand Dr. Umar's concept of light-skin supremacy. It's more about the psychology of a person than their skin color. In other words, you can be dark-skinned and be a light-skin supremacist. Clarence Thomas is a light-skin supremacist. He's a very dark-skinned man, but he doesn't like dark-skinned people. So light-skin supremacy isn't about your skin tone. It's about your mindset. And we have a very big light-skin supremacy issue in the conscious community. We have a very big light-skin supremacy issue in the black community in general. Even when you look at our female speakers, whether they be elders or whether they be youth. Nearly all of them are yellow or light-skinned or tan-skinned. None of them are dark. Sister Soldier is probably the only one who comes to mind of being a brown-skinned sister who's on the speaking circuit. And we have to look at why that is, because black people still have an issue with being black. We still have an issue with the original phenotype of Africa, and many of our conscious scholars or speakers, because many of them are not scholars because they haven't studied anything, they just, give their opinions. Many of our conscious, speakers are also affected with the curse of light-skin supremacy.
Interesting. Yeah, it is. It really is. Interesting. It really is. It is interesting, when you think about it. I never really kind of seen it in that particular way. I think sometimes even for the men, it's the same thing as well. Even though I could say I know some dark-skinned sisters that speak, but I guess if you think about it on a large scale, I see a lot of lopsidedness when it comes to men and to women. That is sort of kind of taking themselves up front. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, good things to reflect on. It is.
And of course, when you have those kind of conversations, it can hit very close to home for a lot of people. So the excuses come out. And I'm not judging anybody. One thing about me, I don't deal in individualism. People always want to ask me, well, what do you think about this person and that? I'm not into that. You can find fault with anybody. People can find fault with me. It ain't about the individual. It's about the collective behavior. I'm dealing with collective behavior. And when I look at the collective behavior of black men, be they in the conscious community or not, they have a predisposition towards light-skinned women.
Black men has a predisposition about a lot of things.
True.
They do. They really do. We do as people, but a lot of things. And I think
sisters do too. I think the light-skin supremacy goes both ways. I know a lot of dark-skinned brothers. A lot of people confide in me. Being a doctor of psychology, a lot of people confide in me. And I've had dark-skinned brothers confide in me. About how they often get overlooked as well, even though we have a lot of black women who say they don't want nothing but a chocolate man. They talk about how much they love chocolate men and how light-skinned men supposed to be played out and chocolate men supposed to be the end thing. Well, They might want them brown, but they don't want them toasty. Because
I don't know.
From a
I
lot
like a
of
dark-skinned
chocolate
brother.
fans.
I love a dark-skinned brother. I love a light-skinned brother. I love brothers. So I guess that's
Right,
the difference.
I feel you.
I love brothers.
But looking at it collectively, not
yes,
necessarily
I understand.
you follow. We're looking at the collective here. And in the collective, dark-skinned women and very dark-skinned men are being shunned.
And a lot
It's
of
a
times,
reality.
but you know what's the truth? A lot of dark-skinned brothers will not look at another dark-skinned sister, and vice versa.
Oh, yes. And you know why that
Yeah.
is? Yes, indeed. And because a lot of dark-skinned people, as I said earlier, are light-skinned supremacists too.
Yeah.
In other words, I grew up blue, black, purple. I got picked on, bothered. I was laughed at.
You are
Even
not
people,
blue, black,
not me.
purple.
No, this is not me
Okay.
in the first person.
Okay.
'Cause I'm not. I would have been very dark had it not been for the white men in my bloodline, because my family was a blue, black, chocolate family all through slavery. My family was known as being very, very dark. So I should have been chocolate had not my great, 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 great grandmother been raped by the slave master. So that's what lightened me up. But, when you look at the pain that one goes through being chocolate in American society, the racism from your own people and the racism from white people, that trauma, a lot of chocolate Africans are traumatized, Ms. Blue. They're traumatized. And what happens, that trauma, like any other mental condition, leads you to engage in irrational behavior. And so what happens is, to deal with that trauma, think about it, Ms. Blue. If you were traumatized by your color, doesn't it sound rational to want to prevent your children from going through the same trauma?
Of course, I can understand.
This is how hard life is being chocolate. If this is how hard life is being chocolate, why don't I do my children?
Isn't that kind of I want you to finish.
How about I do my children the favor? But let me finish the statement. How about I do my children the favor of going lighter, so that way they won't have to deal with the trauma I had to deal with. And this isn't just a theory. I've gotten this in therapy. No, I've had this told to me in therapy. And I can't criticize a brother or sister who intentionally goes like, don't get me wrong, you got a lot of dark-skinned, light-skinned couples, you know what I mean, who came together purely because they love that person and enjoyed their energy. I am not trying to posit that most of our dark-skinned, light-skinned couples grew out of a need to compensate for trauma. I am not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying for those that do, that do, it's understandable why that is done sometimes, because our chocolate people can catch hell. In fact, I had a conversation with some brothers when I was in Indiana. I spoke at Indiana University last night, Indiana University in Bloomington, the main campus. Powerful event put on by the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi and Alpha Phi Alpha fraternities. Wonderful panel discussion on race and economics. Well, we went to dinner when it was over, and we had a conversation about relationships. And we talked about chocolate women and how some of our chocolate sisters, have been so mistreated by their own people and by black men that when they get into a relationship with a brother, they can be hyper vigilant for disrespect or being shunned for their skin tone. So if a brother says, wow, you're a beautiful sister, a beautiful chocolate sister, she might assume that he's saying that you're beautiful because you're dark, and dark people are normally not that attractive, when that's not what he necessarily meant. So there's this need to be extra careful with what you say around chocolate sisters, sometimes with some of them, because we don't want to generalize, because of the trauma that they've been through. And so we were sitting around talking, and every brother there had dated a chocolate sister at one time or another, and it was basically a consensus that that was true. that some of our chocolate sisters can be so defensive, so on the offensive, that it runs men away from them, which ends up reinforcing their belief that black men don't want them, when the truth of the matter is it wasn't that you were chocolate that ran him away. It's because you were so defensive and insecure about being dark-skinned that ran him away.
Yeah. Talk to us, Dr. Umar. Talk to me about the difference between empathy and sympathy.
Empathy is from a position of humility. Sympathy is from a position of arrogance. When you empathize with someone, okay, you're saying that I'm a human being just like you, and I can totally understand how you are feeling, because if I went through the same experience, I would feel it as well. So empathy is not vertical. Empathy is horizontal. Sympathy is vertical. When you sympathize, that's like saying, oh, you poor thing. How could this happen to you? Sympathy says that you are of a different status than I. And I feel for you because given your status, you couldn't help but experience what you experienced. Let me give you an example. When a single black mother walks into a welfare office looking for food stamps for her hungry children, and the white woman is there, or the bourgeois black woman is there, and she tells them their story and talks about how they're homeless, and they say, I feel so sorry for you. That's normally not empathy. That's sympathy. Because what they're saying is, oh, you poor black person. It's a shame you were born poor. And although I wasn't and can't relate to that, I feel sorry for you because I wish you didn't have to live the life of a black person or the life of a poor person. Sympathy is vertical. Empathy is horizontal. Empathy comes from a base of humility. Sympathy comes from a base of arrogance.